Have you ever felt your chest tighten so hard it feels like the air itself is being pulled away from you? Not panic, not fear. Something worse, something physical, something real. That was me, 15 years old, standing in my own living room, surrounded by people, and still, completely alone. It started fast, too fast. 1 second, I was fine, just sitting quietly on the edge of the couch while my dad laughed with his guests. The next, my chest tightened. Just a little at first. A warning. If you've ever had asthma, you know that feeling. That subtle shift. That quiet signal your body sends before everything goes wrong. I froze. Not again. Not now. I tried to stay calm. I always tried to stay calm. Panic only made it worse. Slow breath in. But it didn't go all the way. It stopped halfway, like something inside me had decided that was enough. My fingers curled into the fabric of the couch. Okay, it's fine, I told myself. You know what to do. I reached for my inhaler, because that's what you do. That's what keeps you alive. My hand slipped into my hoodie pocket. Empty. I frowned. That was weird. I always kept it there. Always. So I checked again, faster this time. Nothing. My chest tightened more, not just physically now, but mentally. No, 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 no. I stood up too quickly, my vision tilting slightly as I patted my other pocket. Then my jeans. Then my bag on the floor. Still nothing. And now? Now it was getting worse. My breathing turned shallow, short, sharp. Each inhale barely scratching the surface. I looked around the room, trying to stay composed. No one noticed. Of course they didn't. Why would they? To them, I was just quiet Maya. The one who didn't make scenes. The one who overreacted sometimes. At least, that's what she said. And then, my eyes landed on her, Clara, my stepmother, standing near the kitchen doorway, holding a glass of juice. And something else. Something small. Something blue. My inhaler. For a second, my brain didn't process it. It just stared. Because surely there was a reason, right? Surely she was about to walk over and hand it to me. Surely this was just some misunderstanding. Right? I took a step toward her. Clara, I tried to say. But it didn't come out right. It came out broken, thin, barely there. She looked at me. Not surprised, not concerned, just calm, too calm. And then she smiled. Not a kind smile, not a worried one, a controlled one, the kind she used when she was about to prove a point. She's fine, she said casually, turning to the room. My heart dropped. What? She just wants attention. Ignore her. Ignore her. Did you hear that? Ignore her. My chest tightened harder. I tried again. Please, I whispered. I reached toward her, my fingers shaking now. She didn't move, didn't step forward, didn't hand it over. Instead, she took a slow sip of her drink, like nothing was happening, like I wasn't standing there, slowly losing air. The room went quiet. People looked at each other, some uncomfortable, some unsure, but no one moved. Because Clara sounded so certain, so confident. And me? I was just a girl struggling to breathe. My lungs burned, My chest locked tighter, and suddenly, I couldn't get enough air in at all. My hand dropped, my knees felt weak, and that's when fear hit me. Real fear. Not embarrassment, not frustration. Fear. Because this time, it wasn't getting better. This time, I was losing. My vision blurred at the edges. Voices became distant. My body felt heavier, like gravity had doubled just for me. And then, my legs gave out. I dropped, right there on the floor. And still, no one moved. Until a voice cut through everything. Sharp, loud, unmistakable. "Who took it?" The entire room froze. And in that moment, everything changed. "Who took it?" That voice didn't just cut through the room. It shattered it. Everything stopped. The quiet conversations, the nervous glances, even Clara's calm, perfectly controlled expression flickered. For the first time since I'd seen my inhaler in her hand, she hesitated. Just a second. But I saw it. And somehow, even through the dizziness, even through the tightness crushing my chest, that tiny crack in her confidence felt important, like something had finally shifted. I lay there on the floor, my cheek pressed against the cold tile, failing to pull in air. Each breath came in short, broken pieces, like my lungs were refusing to cooperate, like they were shutting down. My fingers twitched weakly against the ground as I tried to push myself up, but my arms wouldn't listen. Nothing was working right anymore. And the scariest part? I could hear everything. Every word, every pause, every second that passed, without help. "Who took it?" the voice repeated. Closer this time. Stronger. Footsteps. Fast. Direct. Not hesitant like the others. Not unsure. Certain. And then, she appeared. Aunt Renee. My dad's older sister. 45. Sharp eyes. No patience for nonsense. She wasn't supposed to be there that day. She lived 2 towns over and rarely visited without calling first. But somehow, she was here. And right now, she was the only person in that room who looked exactly how I felt. Alarmed. "What is going on?" she demanded, scanning the room, then landing on me. Her expression changed instantly. Not confusion, not doubt. Recognition. She knew. "Maya?" she said, dropping to her knees beside me. Her voice softened, but her movements didn't slow. She didn't hesitate, didn't second-guess. She saw the truth, and she acted. "What happened? Where's your inhaler?" she asked quickly. I tried to answer, I really did, but all that came out was a strained, broken sound. My throat felt tight, my chest tighter. I lifted my hand weakly, pointing, barely managing it, toward Clara. Renee followed my gaze, and there she was, still standing, still holding it, still not moving. For a split second, the room held its breath. Then Renee stood up, slowly, deliberately, and turned toward her. "Give it to her." No shouting, no drama, just a command. Clear, direct, impossible to misunderstand. Clara tilted her head slightly, like she was being inconvenienced. "Oh, please," she said, letting out a small, dismissive laugh. "She's exaggerating. She does this all the time." All the time? Even in that moment, even struggling to breathe, that hit me. Because it wasn't true. It was never true. But she said it so easily, so confidently, like she'd said it before, like she'd made people believe it before. Renee didn't laugh, didn't hesitate, didn't even blink. "She can't breathe," Renee said, her voice colder now, sharper. "Give it to her." There was a shift in the room. You could feel it. People who had been silent started looking uneasy, uncertain. Because now, there were two versions of reality in the same room: Clara's and Renee's. And for the first time, Clara didn't fully control which one people believed. Clara crossed her arms slightly, her grip tightening around the inhaler. "She needs to learn not to overreact," she said coolly. "If you keep giving in, she'll never stop." Learn? Learn? My vision darkened further. Her words blurred together. But one thought screamed louder than anything else in my mind. I can't breathe. Renee took a step forward, then another. Slow, steady, dangerously calm. "This isn't a lesson," she said quietly. "This is dangerous." Clara didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't hand it over. And behind her, I saw my dad, standing there, frozen, watching, not stepping in, not choosing a side, just watching. And that hurt almost as much as the air I couldn't get. Because in that moment, I realized something terrifying. If Renee hadn't been there, no one would have helped me. No one. My chest tightened again, harder, stronger. Everything started fading faster now. Sounds stretched, voices echoed. My body felt distant, like it wasn't fully mine anymore. And just as the room began to slip away, Renee moved, fast, decisive. She reached for Clara's hand, and the inhaler. And Clara, for the first time, pulled back. This wasn't sudden, this wasn't random. This had been building for a long time. Have you ever met someone who seemed perfect at first? Too perfect? That was Clara. When my dad first introduced her, she smiled like she had nothing to hide. Soft voice, warm eyes, always saying the right thing. "Call me Clara," she told me gently. "We're going to be a family." And for a while, I believed her. I wanted to believe her. Because after my mom died, everything felt empty, quiet, like something important had been taken out of the house and never put back. So when Clara showed up with her bright energy and easy laughter, it felt like maybe things could be normal again. At least, that's what I thought. At first, she was kind. Too kind. She packed my lunches, asked about school, even reminded me to carry my inhaler. "You have to be careful with your breathing, sweetheart," she'd say, brushing my shoulder lightly. Looking back now, that's the part that confuses me the most, because somewhere along the way, that version of her disappeared, and a different one took her place. It didn't happen all at once. That's what made it so hard to notice. It started small, little things, easy to dismiss. One day, I couldn't find my inhaler before school. I panicked for a second, but then Clara walked in, holding it. "You left it on the kitchen counter," she said, handing it to me with a smile. I thanked her. Of course I did. Why wouldn't I? But then it happened again, and again. Each time, she had an explanation. "You're so forgetful lately. You really need to be more responsible. You can't expect people to keep fixing your mistakes." And slowly, the problem stopped being the inhaler and started being me. At least, that's how she made it seem. Have you ever had someone rewrite your reality like that? Make you question things you know are true? because that's exactly what she did. If I said I left something somewhere, she'd correct me. If I insisted, she'd sigh, like I was exhausting her. And if anyone else was around, she'd laugh it off. Maya has such a vivid imagination. A vivid imagination. That's what she called it. Even when I couldn't breathe properly sometimes, she'd wave it off. "It's just anxiety," she'd say. "You're working yourself up." But I knew the difference. I felt the difference. This wasn't in my head. It was in my chest, in my lungs, in every strained breath I had to fight for. But the more she said it, the more people believed it, including my dad. That was the hardest part. "Clara's just trying to help," he'd tell me whenever I complained. "She's been really patient with you." Patient? With me? I started talking less after that, keeping things to myself, because every time I spoke up, I felt smaller, less believable, less real. And Clara? She got more confident, more comfortable. She started correcting me in front of people, interrupting me mid-sentence, even finishing my stories wrongly. But no one questioned it, because she sounded so sure. And I sounded unsure, because she made me unsure. And then, there were the moments that didn't feel like accidents anymore. Like the time I had a mild asthma episode in the kitchen, and she stood there, watching. Not panicking, not helping, just observing, like she was waiting to see what I'd do. "Relax," she said calmly while I struggled. "You're making it worse." Making it worse? I remember gripping the counter, trying to steady myself, wondering, why isn't she helping me? But I still gave her the benefit of the doubt. Still told myself, she wouldn't actually let anything bad happen. Right? Right? That's what I believed. Up until the moment I saw her holding my inhaler while I was on the floor. Because suddenly, everything made sense. All the accidents, all the dismissals, all the doubt. It wasn't care. It wasn't concern. It was control. And now? Now she wasn't hiding it anymore. Have you ever watched someone take control of a room without raising their voice? That was Clara. Even now, even with me on the floor, barely breathing, she still had people hesitating, still had them waiting for her reaction instead of trusting what they could clearly see. But Aunt Renee? She wasn't waiting anymore. The moment Clara pulled the inhaler back, Renee stepped in. Fast. Her hand shot forward, gripping Clara's wrist before she could move away again. "Enough." One word. Sharp. Final. The room froze again, but this time it felt different. Heavier. More dangerous. Clara's calm expression cracked. Not completely, but enough. "Let go of me," Clara snapped, her voice tightening for the first time. Renee didn't loosen her grip, didn't step back. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. "If you don't hand that over right now," Renee said quietly, leaning in just enough for Clara and everyone else to hear, "you're going to regret it." There was no drama in her tone, no shouting, which somehow made it worse, because now, this wasn't a disagreement. This was a line, and Clara was standing on the wrong side of it. Behind them, I could hear movement, chairs shifting, someone whispering, "This isn't right." Finally, but it felt so far away, like it was happening underwater. My chest burned. Every breath was thinner than the last. I tried to inhale. Nothing. Just a tight, painful stop. My fingers curled against the floor again, weaker this time. My body felt heavier, slower, like it was giving up. And somewhere in the distance, I heard my dad. "Renee, maybe we should just what? Wait? Think? Debate?" Even now, he wasn't acting. He wasn't choosing. And that realization, it hit harder than anything else. Because this wasn't confusion anymore. This was hesitation. And hesitation, in that moment, was dangerous. Renee didn't even look at him. "Daniel," she said sharply, "your daughter cannot breathe." Silence. Then, a shift. I didn't see it fully, couldn't, but I felt it. The moment something clicked for him. Too late? I didn't know. Clara tried to pull her hand free again. "This is ridiculous," she said, louder now, defensive. "You're all overreacting." Renee didn't let her finish. With one swift motion, she twisted Clara's wrist just enough, and the inhaler slipped, fell, hit the floor, right in front of me. Time slowed. I stared at it, that small blue object, so simple, so important. My hand moved, barely, shaking, dragging across the floor, just a little closer. Come on, come on. My fingers brushed it, missed. My chest tightened harder, vision dimming further. No, not like this, not this close. Then, Renee was there again, faster this time. She dropped to her knees beside me, grabbed the inhaler, shook it once, and pressed it into my hand. "Breathe, Maya," she said firmly. "Now." I didn't hesitate. Couldn't. I lifted it with trembling fingers, pressed it to my lips, and inhaled. A sharp, desperate breath, then another. The medicine hit fast, not instant, but enough. Enough to break the spiral. Enough to open something inside my chest. Air rushed in, still tight, still painful, but there. There. I gasped, my body reacting before my mind could catch up. Coughing, shaking, alive. The room changed again. People moved now. Voices rose. "Is she okay? Should we call someone? Why didn't anyone—" Too many questions. Too late. Because the damage had already been done. I curled slightly on the floor, clutching the inhaler like it was the only real thing left. Because in that moment, it was. And above me, Renee stood up slowly, turning to face the room. Her expression wasn't just angry anymore. It was something deeper, something heavier. Disbelief. "Do you all realize what just happened here?" she asked. No one answered. No one could. Because now, there was no confusion left, no misunderstanding. Just the truth, standing in the middle of the room, and no one could ignore it anymore. That wasn't just cruel, it was dangerous. "Do you all realize what just happened here?" Aunt Renee's voice didn't need to be loud anymore, because now, no one was ignoring her, not after what they had just seen, not after watching me struggle to breathe while the one thing that could help me was kept away. The room had changed, completely. The same people who had been quiet just minutes ago were now shifting uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact, whispering under their breath. Because suddenly, it wasn't unclear anymore. It wasn't just drama. It was real, and it was serious. I was still on the floor, my back against the couch now, gripping my inhaler tightly as I forced myself to take slow, controlled breaths. In, out. In, each one still shaky, each one still reminding me how close that had been. Too close. And as the air slowly returned to my lungs, something else started to rise in its place. Not fear, not panic. Something sharper, something heavier. Anger. Because now that I could breathe again, I could think. And once I started thinking, everything clicked. All the times my inhaler had gone missing. All the times Clara had brushed me off. All the times she made me feel like I was overreacting. Like I couldn't trust my own body. It wasn't random. It wasn't forgetfulness. It was deliberate. You could have seriously hurt her. Renee's voice pulled my attention back. She was facing Clara now, standing tall, unwavering. Clara, for the first time since I'd known her, didn't look completely in control. But she wasn't backing down either. "You're blowing this out of proportion," Clara said, crossing her arms again, though her voice lacked its usual smoothness. "She had her inhaler. She used it. She's fine." Fine? I tightened my grip on it. Was I fine? Was that what that felt like? Renee's expression hardened. "She almost didn't have it," she said, "because you took it." "I didn't take it," Clara snapped quickly. "I was holding on to it. There's a difference." A difference? The room reacted this time. Soft murmurs, confused looks, because that explanation, it didn't make sense anymore, not after what they'd seen. Renee stepped closer. "Why?" she asked simply. One word, but it hit harder than anything else, because there was no easy answer. And for the first time, Clara hesitated. "I was trying to prove a point," she said finally. There it was. The truth. Small, ugly, but undeniable. "A point?" Renee repeated, disbelief creeping into her voice. Clara exhaled, shaking her head slightly, like she was the one being misunderstood. "She exaggerates," she said, gesturing toward me. "She always has. I wanted her to calm down and realize she doesn't need to panic every time something feels slightly off." Slightly off? My chest tightened again, but this time not from lack of air. From what she was saying. From how easily she said it. "You decided that?" Renee asked, her voice dangerously quiet. "You decided that her medical condition wasn't real enough to take seriously?" Clara didn't answer immediately, but her silence said everything. And then, my dad spoke. Finally. "Clara, is that true?" His voice wasn't strong. It wasn't commanding. It was shaken, confused, like he was hearing something he didn't want to believe. Clara turned to him, her expression shifting again, softer now, almost pleading. "Daniel, I was just trying to help her," she said. "She relies on that inhaler too much. I thought if she saw she could get through it—" "Get through it?" Renee cut in sharply. "She collapsed." Silence. Heavy. Unavoidable. And for the first time, my dad didn't look at Clara for reassurance. He looked at me. Really looked. At my pale face, my shaking hands. The inhaler still clutched tightly, like I was afraid it might disappear again. And something in his expression changed. Not instantly, but enough. Enough to make it clear he was starting to see it. All of it. "Has this happened before?" Renee asked, turning toward me now. My heart skipped. This was it. The moment. The truth. Out loud. In front of everyone. I swallowed, my throat still tight, my voice shaky. Yes. The room reacted instantly. Gasps, whispers, shock. Because now, it wasn't just one moment. It was a pattern. A pattern no one could ignore anymore. Renee nodded slowly, then looked back at Clara. "That's not discipline," she said. "That's dangerous." And this time, no one disagreed. Not even my dad. Making sure this never happens again. Aunt Renee didn't hesitate. Her thumb moved across her phone screen with calm precision, like she had already decided what needed to happen long before anyone else caught up. And this time, no one tried to stop her. Not the guests, not my dad, and not even Clara. But Clara reacted. Oh, she reacted. "Renee, wait," she said quickly, stepping forward, her voice no longer calm, no longer controlled. "You're overreacting. This is a family matter. We can handle it ourselves." Family matter. That phrase hung in the air like it was supposed to fix everything, like it was supposed to erase what had just happened. But it didn't. Not anymore. Renee slowly lowered her phone, just enough to look Clara directly in the eyes. "No," she said firmly. "You don't get to decide that after what you just did." And that was it. That was the moment control fully slipped from Clara's hands. Because up until now, she had always controlled the narrative, always redirected attention, always made things sound smaller than they were. But now, there were witnesses. Too many witnesses. People who had seen me on the floor. People who had seen her hold the inhaler. People who had heard her say, "Ignore her." You can't undo that. You can't explain that away. And deep down, she knew it. "I didn't hurt her," Clara insisted, her voice rising slightly, desperation creeping in. "She's fine. Look at her. She's sitting up. She's breathing. I'm breathing because of her," I said. My voice cut through the room, shaky, weak, but clear. Everyone turned, including my dad. That was the first time I'd spoken clearly since it all started. And I could feel it, the shift. Because this time, I wasn't doubting myself. "I couldn't breathe," I continued, my fingers tightening around the inhaler. "And you had it. You knew I needed it, and you didn't give it to me." Silence. No interruptions. No corrections. Just truth. Out loud. Clara opened her mouth, probably to argue, to twist it, to reshape it into something more acceptable. But nothing came out. Because there wasn't anything left to say. The truth had already landed. And this time, no one was ignoring it. The paramedics arrived within minutes. I remember the sound of the siren more than anything else. Sharp, urgent, real. Two of them rushed in, immediately kneeling beside me, asking questions, checking my breathing, my pulse, my oxygen levels. "Severe asthma episode," one of them said after a moment, glancing at the other. She needed that inhaler immediately. Needed. Not optional, not exaggerated. Needed. They asked what happened, and this time, multiple voices answered, not just mine. Guests spoke, Renee spoke, even my dad, quietly, slowly, confirmed what he had seen. And Clara? She stayed silent. Because there was no version of the story she could control anymore. The truth was consistent, clear, undeniable. She had taken my inhaler, and she had refused to give it back. As the paramedics helped me sit more comfortably and monitored my breathing, something inside me finally broke. Not physically, emotionally. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't being dismissed. I wasn't being corrected. I wasn't being told it was in my head. People believed me. Do you understand how powerful that is? To go from being doubted to being heard? Tears slid down my face before I even realized I was crying. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet relief and anger. So much anger. Because it didn't have to get that far. It shouldn't have taken me collapsing on the floor for people to see it. But still, someone had. Renee reached over, gently squeezing my shoulder. "You're okay now," she said softly. And for the first time that day, I believed it. Things moved quickly after that, faster than I expected. Clara tried to explain herself again, but it didn't go anywhere. Because once authorities are involved, intent matters. And so do actions. The paramedics documented everything. What I experienced, what witnesses saw, what Clara admitted. And within hours, it wasn't just a family issue anymore. It became something official, something serious. Clara was asked to leave the house that night. Not later, not after things calmed down. Immediately. I remember watching from the couch as she packed a small bag, her movements sharp, frustrated, defensive. She kept saying things like, "This is being blown out of proportion. I was trying to help. You're all turning this against me." But no one responded, because there was nothing left to debate. My dad stood near the doorway, silent, watching her, and when she walked past him, he didn't stop her. That said everything. In the days that followed, things only became more real. There were follow-up visits, questions, discussions about safety, about responsibility, about what had happened and what could have happened. Clara didn't come back. Not after that. Their relationship didn't survive it. Because some lines, once crossed, don't get erased. My dad changed after that. Not instantly, not perfectly, but noticeably. He became quieter at first, more present, like he was trying to understand everything he had missed. One night, he sat down across from me, his hands clasped tightly together. "I should have seen it," he said. His voice wasn't defensive, wasn't explaining, just honest. "I should have listened to you." I didn't answer right away, because part of me was still hurt, still holding on to the moments he didn't act, the moments he hesitated. But another part of me knew this mattered, that him saying it, really saying it, was a start. "I tried to tell you," I said quietly. "I know," he replied, "and I'm sorry." It wasn't perfect. It didn't erase everything. But it was real. And for the first time in a long time, it felt like we were on the same side. Life didn't magically become perfect after that. Healing doesn't work like that. But it changed. In real ways. Important ways. I started speaking up more. Not loudly, not all at once, but enough. Enough to be heard. At school, I told the nurse about what happened. At home, I made sure my inhaler was always within reach. My reach. Not hidden, not moved, not controlled by anyone else. And slowly, that constant fear I used to carry, it started to fade. Not completely, but enough. Enough to breathe without second-guessing myself. Enough to trust my own body again. One evening, a few weeks later, I stood by my bedroom window, the cool air brushing softly against my face. I held my inhaler in my hand, not tightly, not desperately, just normally. like it was supposed to be, like it had always been meant to be. A tool, not a weapon, not something someone else could take away. I took a slow breath in, full, steady, uninterrupted, and this time, no one was there to question it. No one was there to control it. No one was there to take it away. I looked down at the inhaler for a moment, then set it gently on my desk, within reach, where it belonged. And as I exhaled slowly, I realized something simple but powerful. This time, my breath was mine.